Hi, hello. I have a new book out and it's entitled Opening the Body with the Cube of Space, Alchemy, Bioenergetics and Kabbalah. And several people have been asking me to make a video about it or explain more what it's about, because it's a little bit different from my regular books, which are more to do with body-based therapy. So this book is a fusion. It's about body-based therapy, but it's also about esoteric stuff. And by that I mean alchemy, Kabbalah, Rosicrucianism, and the actual kind of practical details of all that stuff. And you might wonder, well, why try and fuse these two topics together? And I think there's two ways I can answer this. One, looking at the perspective, or firstly, to look at the perspective from body-based therapy, from someone who does that work. What they get from it is that they get more energy in their body. Bioenergetics, Reichian work, rebirthing breath work, this kind of thing. It's about unbinding energy from the muscle system, from the interconnective tissue, the body fascia inside, where it's been caught up, it's got bound up through trauma, through cultural conditioning, parental conditioning, all of that kind of stuff. And so when you practice that kind of work for a long time, you get more energy. That's the bottom line. You have access to more energy and less of it is repressed and held inside your body. And then for some people, a question comes because, some people are happy to project that energy into their life as it is. They have great creative projects they want to do. They maybe pump it into their relationships, their family, into moving ahead in life. But what I've recently discovered for myself in the last couple of years is having more energy in my system. I've been getting back interested in Kabbalah and in alchemy, which were topics I was interested in right at the end of the 90s and beginning of the 2000s. Because that's another way that you can direct energy. It gives you a vessel into which you can direct energy. So that's like the perspective from the person that's doing body-based therapy. And then if we move over to someone who's interested in esoteric stuff, in Kabbalah, in alchemy, Rosicrucianism, this kind of thing, what you will see if you go on sort of discussion groups where people talk about this stuff is there are several topics which people tend to revolve around. One is like, which symbol set is the right set, the true right set? And by that I mean, which configuration of the Sephiroth in Kabbalah, or the paths between the Sephiroth, or the tarot keys or Hebrew letters assigned to those paths. Which one is the right one? Is it this one? Is it that one? This kind of thing. Which is the right tarot set? Should the strength key be 8 or should it be 11 or whatever? There's a lot of discussion about these things, and sometimes people get quite heated behind their version, which is the right one. And then you also have people who discuss a lot about the different traditions themselves. Did Kabbalah come from Solomon times, or did it not arrive till the Christian era, or when the Moors invaded Spain or whatever? Or does it stretch right back to like 30,000 BC when some guy came down from another dimension and laid out the Emerald Tablet of Hermes or whatever? There's a lot of discussion about the origins and where certain strands of thought came from. And what I find missing a lot in all the discussions that go on in the kind of esoteric scene is energy. A lot of the people in that scene, in my experience, they lack a bit energy because, it's all very well spending your time arguing about which version of Kabbalah is right or which version of alchemy is right, but if you don't have energy, then, that's all you can do is discuss. Because you need to project energy. You need to, if you're going to embed the symbol sets into your unconscious mind where they can create physical changes in your body, which really is what alchemy is largely about, you need a certain level of energy in your system to do this. It's analogous to trying to use a torch when the battery's kind of almost died out. It doesn't really matter what you point it at. You're not going to see very much. You're not going to get many results. So people are discussing the symbols and the history and all this stuff, but they're not really discussing how do I get my energy up so I can actually do the work. And so you may be seeing how we can fuse these two pursuits together, the Kabbalah and the alchemy and the body-based therapy. The body-based therapy can give you access to more energy. So the book has 22 modules. There's a little bit of introduction and stuff, and then we have 22 modules. Each module has a theory component where I'm putting out theoretical stuff to start with about bioenergetics and that kind of thing, and then moving on into alchemy and mostly alchemy, basically, and Kabbalah. Some of that stuff, if you've been in the esoteric scene for a long while, you will have heard it before. Some of that stuff you probably won't have heard of before, because I don't bother with blinds, and I have dug into some of these strands, and I have my own internal connections. So I try to make things really, really clear about what some of these processes really are about. So that's the theory, and then there's an imaginal workout for each module, and that involves building up the cube of space in your mind's eye, in your imaginal world. And the cube of space is an esoteric glyph. It's nowhere near as well known as, say, the tree of life, but I find it has a lot more utility, and it doesn't get caught up in a lot of hierarchical stuff in the way that the tree does. It's a really, really handy thing to do, and it's a really, really handy thing to learn, and I'll look at some of the reasons for that later. And essentially, it's also a framework into which you can place the 22 Hebrew letters and the 22 tarot keys, in fact, esoteric versions of the tarot keys. So each module we cover one tarot key, one Hebrew letter, and we learn where to place it on the cube of space, and an imaginal exercise that we do sitting down as a kind of meditation. And then finally, there's a physical workout, something from Reiki and therapy or bioenergetics or breath work that you also do. In terms of time commitment, the average theory module probably takes between 5 and 10 minutes to read, and you may want to do it a couple of times if you feel like the concepts aren't so clear yet. The imaginal workouts start at about 10 minutes and move up to about 15 minutes because they build on each other as you go along. And the physical workouts, they start around 20 minutes and some maybe as long as 40 minutes. And with each of these modules, as is common with my other courses, you need to do the workout and the imaginal exercise 7 times on separate days before moving on to the next module's content. Which means that you can potentially complete the whole course in 22 weeks, or you might want to take a few years about it, which is totally cool. The main thing is that you find a speed that works for you and that you complete it. It's a really good idea to complete stuff. Okay, so aside of the aspect of the course where we're just unbinding energy from the body so that we can project it into working with the tarot keys and the Hebrew letters and the cube of space, there's some other bits of alchemy which I also unravel, which are not well understood. One which is more recognized is like the idea that there's a lot of energy stored either in the kind of second or base chakra lower down the body, and we're trying to unbind that and get it to flow in the body as well. I talk and explain that from an alchemical perspective. And then the other aspect of alchemy that I cover is really the philosopher's stone and the idea of transmuting metals, base metals, into gold, and particularly the first part of that, the philosopher's stone. Because what this really is, in simple terms, is a change to the pineal gland that can be created, which is a gland right inside the middle of your head. This is not a big secret. But how that actually proceeds is through what's called the operation of the sun. And what that really means, it's about how your body metabolizes light, because light as in photons of light, because light is contained in food, varying amounts depending on where the food grows and how old it is and this kind of thing and how you cook it. But light is contained in food, but food traditionally passes straight out of the body. However, one of the core principles of alchemy, which even to this day is not well recognized, is that using these symbol sets like the Hebrew letters or the tarot keys can imprint a program on your unconscious mind which starts to run actually in your body and creates changes to how your body metabolizes light. That's really what a big chunk of alchemy is actually about, and it's very, very rare you'll hear anyone really just say that. And the idea basically is that instead of the light in food passing out of your body through your bowels, it gets changed and absorbed into the chyle and the chyme and passes through the lacteals into your bloodstream. And there slowly it creates illumination. Basically, it makes you illuminated. It literally lights you up from the inside. So this is what ancient alchemical texts are talking about when they're talking about the operation of the sun. It's a way that sunlight, instead of passing through your body, can be absorbed into your body and can illuminate you. Back in the medieval era, you would have heard people talk about, a miraculous fat or a miraculous oil or this kind of thing. And what they're really referring to are the changes that take place in the gut, such that chyme and chyle can transport light into the bloodstream. In like manner, if you've ever studied like esoteric Christianity, you hear about, well, whatever kind of Christianity you've studied, you will no doubt have heard that, Jesus was born of a virgin in Bethlehem. And Bethlehem or Bethlehem in Hebrew or Arabic means the house of bread. It's a metaphor for the stomach. Likewise, Virgo as an astrological sign rules the stomach and the intestines. So in the esoteric strains of Christianity, what this nativity is referring to again is the fact that the alchemical process of illumination, self-illumination, begins in the gut. And then finally, the other useful thing about this cube of space glyph, when you start to build it up internally, it also starts to reroute things inside your body on an energetic level a bit and increase your access to like intuitive insight from a deeper level. Okay, so that's the end of my little talk. Hopefully this has piqued your interest. If it's meant to pique your interest, feel free to check my book out. It's there on Amazon. It's on all the other book platforms as well. And if you would like a DRM free copy of it, you can download it from my website. I'll leave links in the description below. Thank you.